just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champion is all he wants.
I might hurt you. I need a therapist and a perk too. A night cash flow. You full of fat hoes. Ain't got no drugs, I'm turning to a nasty. The truth is, I don't really fuck with these hoes. I just fuck with these hoes when I don't fuck with these hoes. And my dick going right and they motherfucking frozen. They ain't done with that and they ain't what they told. I don't boppers in for the culture. Yo, bitch, suck me dead like a vulture.
Are you gonna finish that popsicle while we film?
Yep.
Damn, I should have grabbed my own sweet treat. I'm shocked we haven't devolved into us eating during these fucking podcasts.
Just like a regular meal.
Yeah, I mean, we both need to eat. What's up, guys? Welcome back to All Large Lads, episode
38.
episode 38, the largest podcast on the internet, with your host Max Sheeler and my brother Sam Sheeler.
This one almost didn't happen, brother.
Yeah, I kind of
Some dude didn't fucking show up. The host of the podcast told us what time we were going to be filming this, and then just didn't show up. And we waited for 2 hours, and then we had to leave for family dinner, and you still weren't there.
I misplanned my Sunday, which is normally our filming day, and it did not go as according to plan. So we're filming this almost borderline live. This is going so fast.
Didn't text us.
I just assumed you guys knew I was canceling. Let's get ready to
I was so close to making a solo episode because I'm gonna keep the streak alive for the boys.
Yeah.
Of course, it's gonna be a little bit more boring with just me, but I'll just answer some questions. Like we'll go over some lifting stuff. But I was gonna keep it going, and I was looking forward to it because I was like, oh. When I explained that Max no-showed Large Lads, they're gonna absolutely slate me.
You know, I made this episode happen. I really appreciated all the love you guys have been given.
Yeah.
I did make this episode happen, to be fair.
I made this episode, you piece of shit.
I appreciate all the love. I absolutely did this because I did not want to get shamed by the boys for missing it. So
yeah, they get mad. They get mad.
It's very funny. I remember I got like very nice DMs initially when I started this episode, and they've slowly turned evil. So recently I discovered people have hobbies outside of lifting weights. So we're gonna do test level tier list hobbies that aren't lifting weights.
Are they like augmenting your lifting weights, or are we talking like this is instead of lifting weights?
You could kind of answer both. We're just saying like how anabolic is this as an activity?
Damn, did you come with ideas? Because fuck, I don't.
Yeah,
talk
I have
to
a
anyone.
list.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't talk to anyone.
Rock climbing.
That's so funny. I was gonna say bouldering.
Yep, that's the one around here. Everyone does that one. Cool. Okay.
Cool. I think it's cool.
I feel like it's a lot of people dunk on it, right? Almost everyone I know that does it is like generally pretty chill.
Yep.
They're just like kind of dude bros. They
Way
just go
better
climb
than the
some
average
rocks.
powerlifter.
Then we got BJJ, the retirement activity of every washed lifter in the world.
Too played out. Everybody does it. Unoriginal.
I don't know, man. I don't want to participate in dude wrangling.
Every other combat sport, S tier.
Okay. I was gonna have boxing on this.
Very cool.
I think it's the nature of all hobbies, but I feel like for some reason, like most combat sports, I'm always like, damn, it would suck to be bad at that, for that to be your thing and be really bad at it.
Yeah, but that ends up, I mean, think
But
about
that's true of everything.
I was going to say, think about roller skating. Imagine if your hobby was roller skating and you're bad at it.
I think it's just cool to
That's
be good
way
at
more.
stuff.
That's way more brutal than me. Like I box, but I'm bad at it.
Yeah.
Be like, look at me ice skate, and then you like are bad at it.
Because even like being like the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh world champion, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can kind of pick any activity and you're pretty good at it. It's pretty rad.
If you're good enough at stuff, it's
Yeah.
cool.
I think you have to have a main hobby and then you can do other stuff on the side. You've got to get good at least one of them. Running. Good, controversial in the lifting community on whether or not it's going to kill all your gains.
Lame.
You know what I've noticed?
I'm really bad at it and always have been.
The like ultra marathon community seems to be like weirdly similar to like the spaz hardcore powerlifting scene.
Oh, this brings up a topic that I was reading the other day.
Okay.
Oh man, the speed walking community. I don't know. Maybe they're filled with a bunch of cool guys. This one dude that I found in the comments who was like a legit world record holder, and I think it had been to the Olympics, basically someone posted a video of like, it was like, you celebrated one of those like celebrated too early and got passed at the last minute, but it was speed walking. And a lot of the comments were like, what gives? There's a point at which neither of their feet are in contact with the ground. That's running just not fast.
Yeah.
Like by definition, right? And there's a guy, his name is Alex Viada, kind of a known like OG hybrid athlete who wanted to see how far he could push strength training and like endurance running.
Okay.
Not like the hybrid athlete now where it's like mostly like sprints and plyos plus lifting. It was more like, man, these almost two slightly antagonistic adaptations. How far can I push them in tandem? Pretty cool. Very smart guy. Lots of good stuff out there.
Yep.
I saw him in the comments because I follow him, so it shows guys you follow. And he was just like, yo, there's a float phase, which is just one of the terms in biomechanics for that part.
Yeah.
How, like, can someone clarify this for me? And this guy was just the biggest douchebag ever and explained that the rules said that it's watched live. So if the live judging didn't say there was a problem, then there is no problem. And the rules say it can't be significant enough to gain a competitive advantage. How much is, like, that's completely subjective and silly because they clearly have a float phase. And Alex Viada was very nice. He's like, hey man, that's totally fine, right? The sport's the sport. But by definition, how do we define, that sounds very subjective. How do we define enough to be a competitive advantage? There is clearly a float phase on every single gait cycle here. And the guy was such a dickling about it that I was like, this is such a bad look for the sport, for this to be like your Olympian guy who's like championing it. This guy was such a fucking cocksucker. It was crazy.
Perfectly 10 minutes.
I came away from reading that. I came out here. I was like, Max, dude, let me tell you something.
It's so funny, because I'm so deep into like powerlifting that I'm like, I wonder if this is just how everyone sees powerlifting. Like they just see like one comment section of there's so many people that me and you know that are probably that level of dude that have like elite powerlifter in their bio that are like going around arguing like the biggest.
You're so right. Yeah, there are tons of great so good at powerlifting. People that would be that guy in like a layman's comment section on like Sports Center.
Yeah, just like random.
Well, actually, I'm an elite power, and just like presenting it so badly.
Like, teacher benches 225 in front of the whole class, and then just like an actual legitimate powerlifter just being like a weird goober in the comment section, and then just like one person who doesn't know anything about powerlifting sees that one comment and is like,
oh, these guys are dickheads.
All this shit sucks.
I suspect it happens a lot in I hope everything, but like, that happens a lot in powerlifting and probably a lot in strongman. It's just like, well, actually, and it's like some motherfucker with a 900 deadlift just being a dickhead in the comments. Also, being like rampant PED sports makes it even worse because then you just have guys like roid rage, like very qualified guys like roid raging out on their stories, because that is one of my favorite things about following untested powerlifting is the people that really don't handle it very well, crashing out on their stories during meet prep.
That's my least favorite thing.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so embarrassing and so funny.
Luckily, the strong men do that too, which always makes me laugh.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Commercial gym base builders. So either for strongman or powerlifting, I ran into one of the people we know at the gym who was like coming back and he was like, I just want to like lay a good foundation, right?
Was it Lou?
Yes.
He's not coming back.
I saw him for one day.
He said he was going to be there today.
All right. Hypothetically, let's say he was sticking with it,
dude,
right?
It came to him in a dream.
You have more of a strongman background, right?
Yep.
If someone was like, I want to set a good foundation for strongman, I only have access to an LA Fitness for now.
Yeah.
What are you having them do?
I mean, I feel like if you're good at like a high bar back squat, a front squat, an RDL, a pull from the floor, varied overheads, right? That's kind of what I'm coming around to.
Okay.
Is be proficient in a variety of styles. Might be a little tough to work like your jerks, but if it's like a true commercial gym, but like if you can work some jerks, work some push presses, work some strict presses. If you're good at those things and then just do some basic bodybuilding and plyos, you could then gain access to a strongman facility and get very competitive. Oh, and be strong on one leg and train your core directly.
Okay.
Yeah, so like squat, RDL, front squat, deadlift, varied overhead movements, do some bodybuilding, do some direct core work, do some unilateral work, and then your plyos and some conditioning. If you're really high, like if you could progress those without any other equipment needed, If you get pretty high level in those, you could go just start a prep and compete with some really good guys and be a pretty competitive package pretty quickly.
How like do you think like let's say you are like I have extremely limited access to strongman equipment, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's worth it to try and do like really janky simulations of the events?
Mixed bag.
Okay, it depends
Mixed
on,
bag.
depends
Some
on
of
the
them are
event.
so bad that it's like you're not getting the little skills and tips and tricks. It's like we're not going to get any stronger from doing this like jury rig thing, probably, and we're not gaining any of the little skills. So we may as well instead do something that's like kind of developmentally potent, where it's like at some point maybe instead of doing this really jury rigged funky thing, maybe you just front squat and get your cardio up, and then show up on the day. Make sure you do your due diligence in the warm up area to try to like figure out your strat for the day. Give her a go. Other things, you can figure out enough strats that like at least running like a poorly done simulator once or twice, you'll beat yourself that didn't do that. So it's kind of a mixed bag, right? Where that's the cool part about strongman is every show is different. You have to ask yourself like, is this an event I'm going to basically no prep? Because it's funny because like a no prep event is either something you're wicked good at. So if you're just in good shape, you're going to do well on it. So you may as well not be tired from it. Like I think Mitch is no prepping the yoke at Worlds.
That's crazy.
He does it all the time. Where like maybe he'll do one touch, and guys basically with yoke to spare their training economy for everything else, they kind of go off of like, what's the least touches I can do?
I'm going to gain more points overall from saving the training economy.
When I'm
because I know
confident-
I can do a mid pack to upper pack with literally zero.
But a lot of those guys would be upper pack, right? They're confident. I'm still going to get top three. Like Mitch is going to win off of a no touch or like a one touch or a no touch. Well, so you're going to win. Why would you spend any more training sessions doing this really fatiguing event and taking away from your other stuff, right? Same thing with like Lucas is a very good yoke runner. The question is how few times can you do it and be ready? And that way the rest of your training economy can go to things that are a little bit more developmentally potent or towards your events that need more work, right?
You've been making your foray a little bit more into actually competitive strongman, right?
Kind of.
You're making some.
I've been competing like
You're trying to plan on actually competing seriously.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I hate traveling so much.
Sam just doesn't make it to his
Hate-
World Cup.
Hate leaving my house so much.
Do you like how much of a difference do you think there is like if someone was like I want to be good at strongman, the difference between like getting very proficient at strongman early and then like base building around that versus just building a huge base and then getting good at strongman later on?
Well, I mean, if we call base, like, gonna try to not get an earful from Alec on this. If we define base as like more varied, it's not just being strong, it's being athletic, it's in being good shape. Absolutely building that up first, right? Because like Alec's whole thing is don't go too specific too early, right? You kind of cap yourself that way. Would outperform it, right? Perfect world, right? We're building this big base. There's no reason not to pick up skills here and there, right? But don't dump your training economy. There's no reason to not like learn some tips and tricks on how to carry bags for a medley. But it's not like you should come in and empty the tank on doing so many bag rounds that you have nothing left afterward. That's probably not wise early on, right? But there's no reason you can't use it as a warm-up or as a conditioning tool at the end or just do like a little bit in the middle to develop your skills alongside that holistic base.
Yeah, because powerlifting is obviously very different because there's no variation in the fact that it's like we have 3 static lifts. But I'm also like, I just like interacting with most people, the like burnout aspect of like thinking that they need crazy high frequencies to like think of themselves as a powerlifter. Where I'm like, for the first 3 years, if you just did like high bar squats, one set of like deadlifts and then RDLs and then like as much bench as you like, you're gonna be just as good if you just worked hard on your bodybuilding movements. Like, you can build technical proficiency with like not that much total volume if you're taking it seriously. And like, if it's gonna make you more interested in the gym, I feel like you're gonna be way better off doing that.
Well, I mean, I think you could probably span that to any level, right? It's like not just be like, if someone's been in the gym for 10 years, they're probably gonna stay in the gym. But that's not the same thing as staying mentally checked in.
Yeah.
You should be making decisions to keep you checked in, right? And like this, I was thinking about this the other day. I forgot to mention it to you. I think a lot of people, like, it's easy to be like, well, this guy's making this mistake. The hard part isn't figuring out like what the optimal thing is to do. It's getting yourself to do it. You know what I mean? Like people will watch like some strongman's day of eating and they're like, why would he eat this instead of this? because he's struggling like a motherfucker to eat 5,000 calories every single day, and that's what he can get himself to do consistently. It's not about like a lot of these decisions aren't about like what's best practice. It's what can you get yourself to do with intent and staying mentally checked in for a really long time. And that's what you're seeing. And that's why you see so many things like, why doesn't this guy do this? Fuck, man, the hard part isn't saying that. Like, we can all throw rocks and say, like, I can pick out things with great athletes that I think they could do a little bit better. Mm-hmm. The hard part's fucking doing it.
And doing it for years
long time with a lot of intent and working through injuries and continuing to do it and give a shit about these things.
I've had a very funny thought like a few times at the gym where I'm like, damn, bro, if I just like had a gym bro who was like, you know, super motivated, really consistent, took their form seriously, and was like really consistent over years, I could get them so fucking strong. And I was like, oh yeah, if I had someone who's doing all of the correct things, I could do
they could get themselves strong, and I could help them a little bit. Yeah, that's the kind of person that was gonna. If I had the kind of guy who was gonna succeed regardless, I could help.
Dude, I could make him so fucking good.
I could help him avoid a few pitfalls.
It is weird, like just being around the gym and being like, damn, the single greatest determinant is just like wanting it for multiple years.
Yes,
like
that. Or enjoying working hard.
Yeah, like staying like passionate about progressing.
Yeah, and curious, right? Yeah. Where it's like, why didn't I get better? Like, I'm gonna try something else rather than getting like really doomer pilled with your first bad block.
Because we've known people who have stuck around, tried hard, and have absolutely doomed themselves from just sticking to like the worst system in the world.
Yeah, they either stick to the worst system or they're really not like very analytical with like trying to figure out why. Like their process of trial and error is kind of not so good.
It's just like a sad thing when I miss.
But honestly, you get guys like that where it's like you get guys who get wicked strong, right? Where you look at their system and it's like, okay, I'm all for a little bit of clunkiness if it means wicked adherence. I'm all for the diet looking a little bit suboptimal if it I'm all for the diet looking like a deviation away from best practice if it's going to mean wicked adherence. Same thing with training. I'm all for like you do this way because you like it a lot more. Yeah. Well, that gets you like every block thinking about like, oh, I got to make sure I prep for this session. I love my goofy press style. Yeah. I'm so excited for the session. I'm going to eat my meals and go better early. And you hate jerks? Fine, fair enough.
Yeah, you're going to be a lot better than the guy who doesn't consistently train with a jerk. Like,
exactly.
Even if he's the most proficient.
Exactly, the guy who burnt out.
Pretty silly.
You're going to beat the guy who burnt out, right?
Yeah.
But there are tons of guys who got really strong whose systems are like, clunky, where it's like, okay, fuck, man. Like, I get that you got yourself to do this, but like, we could have, there's some obvious, really bad ones here, right? Like, there's tons of guys who have become like monstrously strong, who were powerlifters, but the way they liked to train wasn't powerlifting. It was very general in nature. And it's like, on one hand, it's awesome that you built this brutally hard system and you got that strong, but it's like, man, you were strong enough to total more and I think that's where you get to the point where like, okay, once you're a top level athlete, maybe then we start making some compromises on things you enjoy for things that are efficient. But even then, they're not getting fucking paid.
Yeah, well, it's very funny because it's like, I feel like a lot of those guys me and you have like known of have taken a foray into a strongman and done even worse. Yeah. Just because it's like, that's something you do have to like, probably be more dialed into individual events. But you think it was like, oh, you know, I'm generally strong. This powerlifting stuff is stupid. I'm going to go do the general strong guy thing. And then you're getting waxed by people who have actually good preparations.
You know who is a good example of this?
Absolutely.
He didn't do strongman or anything, but I was going to say Derek Kendall back in the day. He had a specific style of training that he was unbelievably invested in. It had its strengths, it had its weaknesses, but it didn't really translate to powerlifting that well.
Yeah, it resulted in some of the craziest gym lifts of all time.
And he just got really, really, really strong using this system. Like, his deadlift was never very good. Big bench press.
Yep.
And his squat, like you said, huge gym lifts, but wasn't able to kind of put it together on the platform necessarily because there wasn't like peaking plans.
Yeah.
But he loved that style of training so much. And you can't take that away because it's like, how did you get this guy to push himself that hard?
Yeah.
It's because he loved that way of training. Mm-hmm. So if you take that away, you take away some of what made that. But you're at the same time, you're like, but if you could bring that same unwavering effort to something a little bit more efficient, you're looking at an all-time total record holder.
Yeah, back then, easily.
Easily, yeah.
We're going to take a pivot to a little bit more goofy question.
Let's go.
We're more on like the spirit of it.
Okay.
What is the coolest? Pirate, cowboy, samurai, knight?
Knight.
Okay.
Next question.
I was hoping, I knew Kirsten was going to have a real goofy answer for this. I was excited for specifically Kirsten.
You think she can hear us?
Probably not a great idea to scream because I feel like it'll take him a second.
Kirsty! Ask her. My voice is gone. Ask her the question.
Kirsten, what is coolest? A pirate, a cowboy, a samurai, or a knight?
What?
Knight.
Okay, knight.
Okay, the universal answer.
What's yours?
I'll just for the sake of differentiating, I've got my weeb roots.
Okay.
I'll say a samurai.
Okay.
It's very funny because I saw this question on Instagram, right? And I was like, perfect, Lars, that's question, right?
Yep.
If we're going by actual reality, holy shit, the wrong answer is pirate. You're just disease-ridden poor guy. You die at 20 of scurvy.
I was just watching a video last night when I was supposed to be going to bed. I was watching a video about how when the weather was not so good when they were sailing, they would poop below deck. And so the hull would just fill with shit. And it was damp in there. Jesus. And they would try to clean it out when they got to port, but it would seep down to the very bottom layer.
Yeah.
Or how they would shit off the side of the boat.
Yeah. Just thinking about the reality of it, that's so. But as a theory, it's that's freedom and adventure, like breaking the law. Cowboys, a little bit more lone wolf. I feel like samurai, you're a weeb.
Yep.
But it's cool, discipline, honor.
Yep.
Knight, sick. Realistically, I feel like the coolest answer. I feel also just because I grew up reading a lot of fantasy books that I'm just being a knight is the sickest shit.
It's clearly the cool one.
Yeah, I killed dragons. What do you hunt down criminals?
It's clearly the cool one.
How long?
So a similar question I just made up.
Fantastic. I love that. Yeah.
You're like me. You're a big RPG guy.
For sure.
Generic RPG.
Okay.
Are we going mage build? Are we going sneaky fucking thief build?
Okay.
We going two-handed warrior type build? What any other paladin? Bulky tank paladin?
Yep.
What are we going with?
I mean, just kind of gym bro nature, right?
Yes.
You kind of got to go barbarian, berserker, two-handed, just one of those powerful damage dealing things.
That's my first run through of everything.
That being said, my second run through always a wizard. A good magic system. I'm a very It's also very funny. I think I am more of a dork than most people immediately assume, just from the fact that I'm a large, stinky lifting weights guy. Oh, it's the glasses. I'm an intellectual right now.
You got the goggles.
Right
and the
now,
mustache.
someone would be like, "That guy's a fucking dweeb."
You got goggles and you wear a frog and toad shirt.
I do think there's something really helpful about being very dorky about lifting weights.
Yep.
If you're willing to work hard and also have that if you want to call it a curious nature about how to get better, min-maxing, it's a really good way to approach it.
Yeah.
Jasper's sport background was playing RPGs and WoW all day. And immediately became one of the best strength athletes we know.
His Jasper's strength background, everybody, Lucas made that video of the here's my athletic history.
Yeah.
Jasper's athletic history was OG RuneScape.
Dude just really grinded. Wow, all of college.
I love that guy so much.
Became an intermittent lifter. So there's not a specific answer, but general thoughts on how long should you commit to a training test? So let's say someone at home is either being coached or not being coached, and they're trying out a new theory. How long do you commit to that?
So if you're being coached, don't listen to me at all. Walk through this with your coach.
Okay, that's a very, very
talk to them. Be like, how long do you want me? How long before I throw in the towel? Right? And their coach probably has some ideas about their own system and how things fit into their system. Unfortunately, a huge percentage of coaches don't have a system.
Yes.
And have no idea how things fit into their system because it changes based on the flavor of the month. But if you back your coach, which you should, walk through that with them. If you're kind of self-trialing things, I think it depends on what it is that you're self-trialing. Mm-hmm. And what the feedback is. If the feedback is crippling pain, don't try it again.
Okay, yep.
If the feedback is accessory that you're trying to new one, you got an exercise slot in your program, you kind of got some ideas for your the shape of your program, and I'm a rotate. I'm getting real tired of leg press.
Yeah.
Try the hack squat.
Yeah.
The first one felt kind of janky. Don't give up.
Okay.
If you got a new piece of equipment, sometimes it takes a little bit to learn the nuances of how to get work out of it. Maybe a few foot adjustments later, and maybe a reverse band. This feels great work. don't give up on it in the first session, right? Like we've had a couple that took a really long time that I don't want to harp on how long those took for you, but like some of them, like both of us, first 2 sessions on our belt squat that we dumped a bunch of money on, we were both like, fuck, this thing sucks.
Luckily, I knew that was going to be, because I trained with it before. That would have been horrifying.
Yes.
If we bought like a fucking the most expensive
We could have
belt
sold
squat.
it for Dece.
Yeah, but that would have sucked because like the setup, dragging it up the fucking hill.
Yeah, it would have been a pain. But we both were like, okay, 3rd session, boom, great session, boom. Like just took a while of fiddling with how do you put your hips in space. So new exercises, don't bail on them too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they give you a little discomfort, try adjusting your form and see if you can position yourself different, right? And then like more big structural changes, run through a whole block. Probably run through the whole thing and see.
What about a technique change?
That's a tough one because it really depends on like how confident you are, what's your source. Like if you've got a guy at your gym and you're like, this guy's a stud, he's smart and strong, and that guy's like, yo man, I'm pretty sure you're overextended in your brace, lock your ribs down.
Yep.
Probably stick with it for a while. Like he's seen you lift, you trust this guy, keep exploring it, right? And when you're a beginner, right, sometimes things lie. Like something might feel better, but it's like
all the time.
Very short. That's very short. Yeah, I'm sure yanking on the bar felt easier. That doesn't mean it's a good technical model to pursue long term, right? What gets you to 400 the fastest is not the same thing that gets you to 500 the fastest. And we went down that rabbit hole quick because we were like, everybody's form's different, right? Like you give me the feedback that this works for me. You're probably not unique. Your good form is probably going to look pretty standard to other people's good form. So that's a little tricky, right? If it falls in line with traditional wisdom, stick with it for a while. Mm-hmm. The more advanced you are, right? Like when we give you a form change.
Yeah.
If it's equal in strength right away,
we're
like, oh, that's crazy.
Yo, big money. That is very funny, the idea that like making what we think is a productive form change, even moderate levels of success is like the greatest like $3 sign go ahead.
Yeah.
Where like we would just expect when we're implementing something, this is gonna suck for 2 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, at least
like,
3. Like in 3, maybe on the 3rd. It's still a great change. If by the 3rd week you're like, it's clicking.
Yeah.
This is already as good or better. That was a cash change because of how long you've been doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe for someone newer, good changes show a little quicker on the 1st or 2nd session, where it's like, it could be a couple for you, right? Like just navigating that. And like, if you've thought your way through this and you're pretty confident, you got good sources, and maybe if you've got some people you trust and they're kind of agreeing with you that this is something worth exploring, commit to exploring it properly, right? People are like, well, try a cue, like it didn't work.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, sometimes doing the cue has a training effect that makes you better at doing the cue.
Also, like the idea of like, oh dang, I paused my benches.
Yeah.
It went way worse. Like that's gonna make you way better when you go for your paused PR.
Exactly.
Like, I remember people who've like been like, oh, like that's
It nuked my
your
numbers.
squats where squat cues made my squat go horribly, and it's like because I taught you to hit depth. Of course that was
I know.
bad.
They're like, that made it harder. And it's like, that's because you hit depth.
You're not gonna bomb your next meet if you keep doing that.
Yes, yeah, that's happened to me quite a few times where I'm just like, hey, do this. And they're like, that went way harder. I was like, it's because you actually squatted to depth and you have a meet coming up. But I had one in college. I was like, trying to have better hip stability. And I was really I bought into like not twisting my feet into the ground, but spreading the floor. Like I was trying to spread across, like out into the splits. And at first it didn't work at all, but I kept cueing it. And I did some X-band walks in my warm-ups as movement prep to kind of give me a feel for that. And the more I did it on my light warm-ups, the further I could make it into my warm-ups while focusing on it. And I made it further and further into my warm-ups because by cueing it and doing more of it, I got stronger at spreading the floor. And eventually I was able to implement on my top sets and my form got substantially better. There's a lot of things like, I don't like the cue, but let's say you use the break the bar cue on your deadlift, or you bend the bar. Well, guess what? If you cue bend the bar on every deadlift you do, you're gonna get stronger at bending the bar. And if that is a good cue for you, then it's gonna be really good. But you need to do the cue to get stronger at the cue to then have much like ability to implement it.
Yeah. For those at home who are programming themselves, you have an insane amount of experience doing that for yourself, right? Do you think like running experiments generally good idea? What are the woes and like things to stay away from, things to go towards? All
right, if you're watching my videos, you probably run too many experiments. I'll be frank with you. You're probably holding yourself back by varying things too often. The solution I found was to just put a lock on certain things. where it's like if doing 2 sets of RDL, let's just keep it simple. If doing 2 tough sets of RDLs a week is doing you wonders on your deadlift, put a lock on that and throw away the key.
Yeah,
leave that shit
You've
alone.
kept the key on you many times.
And it's like I've had a couple of things that I was always really good about. Throw away the key.
Yeah.
This stays static. Maybe I can reevaluate way down the line, but I know this is something that I shouldn't tinker with because it's pivotal.
So like locking things that are working until they're not, rather than like constantly experimenting with what you can do better.
Yeah, and what if you lock up, let's just call it 70% of your program, and that 70% is kind of spread across squat, bench, deadlift, or whatever your training outcomes are.
Yeah.
Then you have the ability to really tinker with that 30%, run some fun experiments. What if you did do your triceps this way instead of this way? Let's find out.
Yeah.
It's not high risk because either way you're doing triceps and you're still doing that frequency you know works. You're doing that bench technique you know works. You're doing that bench volume you know works. And this little stuff you can kind of play around with to find optimizations without risking anything like going to waste, right? I think if you can lock up enough things static and then give yourself the areas that are designated for experimentation, that's kind of the best way to do it.
Yeah, outside looking in, because I've never, outside of the Mayan calendar,
Shout out to the Mayan calendar.
I've never seriously written programming for myself, right? But outside looking in at most of the people that I know that were writing programs for themselves, right, is like they will write a format and then try and jump to the perfect format from there. Where they're like, here are the things that I've learned. So I'm going to rewrite the whole program to try and write the perfect program. And you're never going to take a swing that's like perfect and from scratch write this entirely oh dang, I noticed this, so I'm gonna rewrite my whole bench program. And it's that it just results in one, usually they don't even wait till the end of the block before they're like, aha.
Yeah.
And it seems like the way that we have done our programming is making small adjustments every block, but our programming looks insanely different than it did.
It's been very gradual, right?
It's just this block we're going to do 1 extra set of bench, or we're going to do RIR on 2 of our days, or shoot, what if we structure my quad accessories of we're going to do all 3 tier 3s or whatever. But no 2 blocks, truly in an evolutionary sense, no 2 blocks look very different ever.
Yep.
Because once you have a program that this worked, which I hope many of you guys have found a program that has worked for you before.
A lot of people haven't necessarily.
How so?
Because when they were running the programs, everything worked.
Yeah, pick whatever one's your favorite.
That's what I'm saying is it's not the one that works.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I mean, if you've had one that you liked that you had success with,
I think
just
a lot
start
of it's
making small
conceptual.
tweaks. Yeah.
What makes the most sense to you? That's what I tell people.
Oh.
It's if you've run, let's just say you've run 5-3-1, a very basic kind of, it's just a 4-week program that waves upward gradually. 3 up, 1 down, a little higher. 3 up, 1 down. And conceptually, that makes a shit ton of sense to you. Start with that as your base. And like Max said, every block looks very similar to last, just with some small optimizations based on, and the more times you do it, the more you'll become an expert in how tired should I be on week 1, 2, 3. How do I do a deload? What's enough work I don't kind of detrain during the deload? I don't want to underdo it, but I want to overdo it. And you learn these things by paying attention and being invested in your training and having fun and not being neurotic and getting stressed about it. Just pay attention, right? Or, we were American block periodization. That makes sense. I've always said, programs and periodization is just the answer. It's a bunch of different people's answer to the question, what do you do when adding 5 a session no longer works? Because that's a big question we all run into is we all do something that looks kind of linear, where we figure out we could just be 5 pounds stronger every time we lift, and then that stops working. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's very funny, the idea that it was truly just 15-year-old you saw I do a set of 10 on the 10th week. I do a set of 9 on the 9th week.
No, that's not even what I saw. The Ed Cohn one was way slicker than that, but I was like, what if I just did this?
Yeah, you came up with this idea that I do 10, and then when it wraps back around, I'm going to beat my 10 RM.
Do you know why that was?
No.
I didn't like doing 10s 2 weeks in a row because then the first week of 10s wasn't a PR.
Oh.
So I was like, well, what if, because I think one of the Cohen programs went 10, 10, 8, a top 10s, 10s, 8s, 8s.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't want to do
The first 8 is going to suck.
I was like,
compared
not
to the second
PRing
one.
the first week is so dumb. I'll just do a 10 and then a 9 and make sure I line it out well so I don't peak out early.
Yeah.
We found some percentages that associated with those numbers. And that way, every time it was a 10 rep PR, a 9 rep PR, an 8 rep PR, and it peaked out okay. Then I figured I was like, okay, PRing every week is not really the point.
It was really good for clout, though.
It was.
I will say that. It was like
Every caption having PR was cash.
It only just like 10 RM, 9 RM. Like people, that was by far the most like successful my Instagram ever was when I was starting to get good at doing that.
Yeah. And like we figured out how to run that. It's a janky program. Of course, it's a janky program, but we got pretty good at running it.
Yeah.
And then we made some adjustments to where that looked a little bit more like, a little bit more auto-regulated.
Yeah.
So on. So it's evolved into more what we do now.
Which is visually, if you looked at it, a fundamentally drastically different program. But if you look
but
at
you
like
can see the roots.
exactly,
You can really see the roots.
You have like a little 10-week thing before Big Saturday. You have a little 10-week thing left over on my spreadsheet, basically.
That's everyone's. Everyone's derived from a spreadsheet that still says, instead of going week 1 to week 10, every program I have counts from week 10 down to week 1, and everyone hates it.
I love it. It's so deeply ingrained in my
It's a
origins of
relic.
lifting.
Yeah, 'cause it's like 10 means 10 means you're doing 10s. I really like that. And you can see the remnant. But that's because initially I watched like an Ed Cohen video and I was like, that's what you do when you can't get better every week, is I need to be better every 5th week than I was last 5th week.
Yeah.
And I was told like 8 to 12 week blocks. And that's like how you should space out your head, like when you go for like PRs. And that worked out to be very well. Like 10 weeks of training, we're good for a new PR. 10 weeks of training, we're good for a new PR. And that was just a very profoundly logical answer to me. Mm-hmm. If you find that conjugate is to you the logical answer, that's your base. Start into conjugate and learn the nuances and be someone that there's plenty of guys that do it very well for varied tasks. Learn the nuances of it, develop your system. But whatever, like if true block periodization, if I don't know what the fuck else people do, if Juggernaut's just the program that makes the most sense, Juggernaut's your base, and then maybe next time you like adjust your volume a little bit. And then you run it again, you see the result. And then maybe you found like, I kind of overtrained at this point. I'm going to make this adjustment. I'm going to change the assistance work, right? But like whatever made the most sense to you and worked, that's your base. And then you just kind of do those gradual renditions and that becomes your training style.
I feel like that was a really good little spiel informational convo. I'm going to end it there. Sorry for the short one. We're on a weekday, so trying to get this one out quick.
If this one was particularly good, it's because we didn't do it in the morning.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching. Answer pirate, samurai, cowboy, knight in the comment section.
Or something else.
Or any other question you feel like answering. Please comment.
Please comment. We did this for you guys to keep our streak alive. I feel like this was a pretty good one.
I feel like that was more informational, but not as dog shit as some of the more informational.